this is People in Power. I'm Summer El-Shahat and welcome to the skyline of Doha right here in Qatar, where we're starting our special season of Middle Eastern films. Zain al-Abidine bin Ali has been president of Tunisia for the last 20 years. In fact, he likes being president so much that he's changed the constitution on numerous occasions so that he can remain on top. So what does he do with all this power? Well, he makes sure that no one questions it. That means that political dissent is silenced and there's no such thing as a free press or media. That's why Al Jazeera is banned. But despite this, Suhair Latif has filmed a report undercover and in secret on political oppression and corruption in Tunisia, which goes all the way to the top.
I'm allowed to see my son once, and then they forbid it to me for more than 4 weeks. He's a cardiac, and he has got respiration problems. During those years in prison, he has been in hunger strike 1,100 days.
Tunisia gained independence in 1956. Habib Bourguiba was the first president, a forward-thinking lawyer who believed in creating a modern country. He was the first to bring freedom to women, as well as placing strong emphasis on education. After 31 years, Ben Ali came to power from a background in the military. In his first speech on November the 7th, 1987, he promised greater democracy, stating, "This constitution needs urgent revision. The times in which we live can no longer admit life presidency or automatic succession, from which the people are excluded. Our people deserve an advanced and institutionalized political life, truly based on plurality of parties and mass organizations."
It's easy to count the presidents that were in charge from 1956 until now. We had only 2 of them. It's not like in the USA or in Europe where you need to have a good memory to remember the names of all the presidents. If I have to be objective, during those 20 years, there have indeed been some positive points, but there are still more negative ones, particularly concerning freedom, human rights and political engagement. Just think that Ben Ali rules the country for 20 years, and you will understand that there is no democracy in Tunisia. There are voices within the system and in the pro-government press which ask Ben Ali to stand for the 2009 elections.
This was one of the few protests in Tunisia where journalists were allowed to take pictures, just after Ben Ali won the presidential election in 2004. Having started in office claiming to be against lifelong presidency, he then changed the constitution to remain in power. He won by more than 90% of the vote. In the absence of democracy, people chose to go on hunger strike many times, including politicians, judges, human rights activists and journalists.
It is time for me to put an end to my hunger strike, by respect for the solidarity of the civil society and of the Workers' General Union. I announced today that I am putting an end to this strike.
I did a hunger strike after 5 men of Ben Ali's police attacked me and tried to kill me. My only fault is to have edited an independent newspaper which criticizes the repressive policy of Ben Ali, a corruption policy within the Ben Ali ruling team.
De Ben Ali, la politique de corruption de l'équipe au pouvoir de Ben Ali.
Because of the financial embargo imposed on our newspaper, our journalists are first of all activists. In spite of their professionalism, it is their job, but they get very low salaries, which you cannot compare to the work they accomplish. It is not because we don't want to pay them, but because our income is very limited. They know our situation well. It is their right to be treated as all professional journalists, to receive a salary according to the law and even more, but nevertheless they are strongly repressed, including physical aggression while they are doing their work. This gives an idea of the situation of the freedom in the Tunisian press. The different voice of this newspaper represents a wrong note in the government's harmony, and all this influences the situation of our colleagues.
As journalists, they do everything to prevent us from exercising our right to cover events or to participate in conferences. We are always being watched. A journalist who works in an opposition newspaper must be avoided.
Many times they took our cameras from us, or our tape recorders, and you know that our possibilities are very limited. Being a newspaper which is published by an opposition party, with its legal visa, its presence and its identity, the Constitution gives it the right to exercise its activities. In spite of our effort to be objective, a newspaper open to all citizens, the government regards us as a newspaper which is able to disrupt its existence.
If I was able to enter Tunisia Wake Up, it is because a few years ago I went on the internet looking for information on Tunisia, and I realized there was nothing. But accidentally I found a site which had been created by a young Tunisian who died since then, Zouhair Yahiyaoui. And on that site we organized some chats, some virtual conferences whose results were published on the internet. The consequences were that Zouhair was arrested and was sentenced to many months of prison, or rather years. So afterwards we decided to create Tunisia Wake Up, to be able to diffuse free and uncensored information for all Tunisians and friends of Tunisia. So a few persons united themselves to create this site, which diffuses all the information which the Tunisians cannot have access to.
We found the sensitive spot, going where even some opposition parties didn't want to go. That was when we interfered with tourism. They forgave us everything, except when we started telling people. We didn't tell them, don't go to Tunisia, but we did tell them 800,000 French people, for example, go to Tunisia. And they don't have a clue about what's going on in Tunisia. They go to Djerba. They see nothing about Tunisia. We told them, that exists, but it's also a police regime. It's a police regime. We don't miss an opportunity to remind them who they are, and they hate us indeed. I read in the Tunisian press some things. In any other country, I would have sued them for libel. But in this case, it's ridiculous. The whole press is sold to Mr. Ben Ali. I can't start a lawsuit every day. The Tawfiq Ben Brik affair embodied that. It was an important time for civil society in Tunisia. It was the time when the regime was shaken at a certain point. But then the whole thing froze. Nowadays, everybody considers the regime as an ally against terrorism, so nobody says anything.
Donc plus personne ne dit rien.
Through the media and internet, I discovered that there are two sides in Tunisia, the beat side and the court side. The court side with its repression, its torture, where the Tunisian doesn't have the right to speak. That's when I told myself, Jalal, now you must support the civil society in Tunisia and work to contribute to change things in Tunisia. The Tunisians who live abroad, there is a pressure upon them too. When you think that the embassy here keeps a watch on them. This repression system supervises almost every Tunisian who lives abroad. I don't have that problem because I feel integrated in this Swiss society. It gave me indeed more courage to involve myself in the Tunisian civil society.
After the break, we continue our film on political oppression and corruption in Tunisia.